1 2 1 2. Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I build like circular objects when the items that I'm building with are not actually on the grid. So for example, this whole building for my pandas that was in Alphabet Zoo was built with items that were not part of the grid. So for example, we had it built out of these Arctic wood panels which are not grid items. Now, to understand if an item is part of the grid or not, what you have to do is you have to go to the wall pieces and have a look and see what options we have. So we have this Arctic wood panel, and then we have its counterpart, which is the Arctic wood wall, which, as you can see, just exit the editing group, this has a grid when you place it, whereas the Arctic wood panel doesn't. There is no grid that comes with it. So that's how you tell if a piece is part of the grid or not. With grid pieces, you can often just place them and then go to the group menu and press Ctrl X. This means you can rotate them to create round objects, and effectively every time you do this, you help create part of the circle. So by pressing Ctrl X, you go to the advanced move option, and you can then start to see the pieces that are available for creating the circle. So these will only ever really be grid pieces you can work with. Most of the time, non-grid pieces, you have to sort of align them yourself, or they don't necessarily align quite perfectly. So I like using sort of the half panels because I think they're really cool in the game and you can go to a lot more detail with them, which is unfortunate because it then means that when it comes to these to building like round objects, that I'm sort of a bit restricted. So this is how you build a round object on the grid. So I'm going to show you ways of building these kind of circles without using the grid. So to start off with, the first way you can do it is by basically using the path as sort of a blueprint. So I'm going to press Control, because if I don't press Control, my path wants to snap to this path. See how it's doing this? So if I press Control, it immediately stops it snapping, and then I'm going to press Shift, which means I can then lift this bit of path up a certain height. So I'm going to go here. Now my path is 4 meters in width. I've got 30 degrees of angle snap checked, and my length is on 2. So the first piece you build has to be straight because it needs to give a reference for where it's going to bend from. So once you've done that, if you then go to build your next piece as straight, but then move your mouse 1 space to the left, you'll get that perfect 30-degree angle, and you can just keep doing that. So you've got the straight piece, move it 1 space to the left, straight 1 space to the left, straight 1 space to the left, and just keep doing this until you get the perfect circle. You have to delete the original piece that you built with, but by doing that you get this perfect round circle. And this acts as a fantastic template for building buildings without using the grid, because you've effectively just created a blueprint. Now I'd always advise building the path first, because then that way you know where your guests are going to be in the building, and you can just build the building around the path. So for example, if we use this wall piece we have over here that I used, this is the piece that I saved as a blueprint, so I could duplicate it for the temple. Now I can just place this along this circle, like so. And I'm doing it by eye, just checking that all the pieces are aligning perfectly. And it just means that then you also have, not only do you have your outer circle, but you then have your inner circle, which is this bit here. And you can then build for the inner circle as well. So I'm going to use the Arctic wood panel again, but I'm going to use the slightly smaller piece, and I'm going to place that one there, and I'm going to place this one there, making sure that you can't see the curb, or if I'm clipping into the curb, I'm clipping into the curb the same amount each time. And so I'm going to just have this as sort of a nice inner wall piece. Maybe there's like a small habitat in here, maybe some tortoises or something. And I'm just going to build that like that, and then get these into a group. So I'm going to press this little button in here, the multi-selection, which you can press I to do it as well. And then I'm going to select all these by pressing Control, and then add them to a group. This then means I can duplicate them. So I'm going to duplicate these, and I'm going to fit them in and place them down like so. And the reason I like using the half pieces is because you can then place, because the pieces are smaller, you can get a tighter kind of circle that fits more snugly to the path. So again, it's just basically by doing it by sort of how it looks, and just doing it by eye really. And again, you just place this, and we're going to keep, see now that one's too far out, so I'm going to just press X without pressing Control. I'm going to move these just so there's a plane going by. Unfortunately, I live near an RAF base, so we do get planes going by. I don't know if that gets picked up. And so once that's sort of the right angle and is snug, you then duplicate it again, and you just press Z to rotate it. And I'm going to have to move the sun once again, because the shadows are in the wrong place, unfortunately. That's the one trouble with this game, I find, is that the lighting source is never uniform. So I'll do this from this side, and I'm going to just line it up so that it's nice and snug. So as you can see, I'm following the just the edge of the path, and if I keep doing this, I'm obviously going to end up with a perfect circle. And I find that often if you are building the path first, you're going to be having much smoother buildings. You're going to have your buildings that sort of fit snugly to your they're going to fit snugly to your paths. So for example, with this now, I'm going to just delete this half. It's another reason why I like using the half walls. Just gonna move these, doopity-doo. And you can just sort of fit them more snugly. So again, if you use the half panels, you can do what I've just done and effectively cut the panel in half, and then you have half a building here that is perfect to be fitting snugly somewhere. So if I duplicate, so again, if we duplicate these again and just keep going round, eventually we'll have a perfect circle. So this was essentially what I did with the temple, was I built these wall pieces from half walls, and I just fitted everything in how I wanted it, and just got the wall looking how I wanted it. And then once I'd done that, I just duplicated the wall and placed it around the path. And I did the same for the inside bit, as I built the inside wall, and then once I'd done that, I just placed it along the path and just used the path as a guideline. So this can be quite fiddly, and it can be very time consuming, but I feel like if you use the paths, you know where your guests are going to be, you know that you can plan a lot better of which bits are going to be viewable, which bits are not going to be viewable from the path, and it just means that you know you're going to get buildings that are accessible by your guests and also look really cool. So if you want to build a building and not actually have a path inside it, you can do this method and then delete the path. Or there's another method that you can do. Now this method, if we go down to facilities and we go to viewing devices and speakers, You can see the viewing device and the speaker here, which is this little yellow thing. So we go to the educational speaker and we select the educational speaker and we place this little yellow blob, and we select whatever animal we have in this zoo. So this only works if you have animals in your zoo, and this also needs to be powered. So if you're on Sandbox, you can just automatically power everything, or you can power it with whatever you've got nearby. And basically, if you go on range and start moving it, you go to the heat map menu, and you can get to this menu by pressing H, and you can toggle it on and off by pressing H, or you can press this button in the left hand corner. So we've got guest education coverage, which gives you a perfect circle, and you can effectively use this perfect circle, if we go back onto the heat maps, to build yet another circle. So if we go over here, and I'll just show you how to do this, because this is actually can be quite fiddly. So hang on, let me just get that back. Right, so we've gone on to duplicate, and we're toggling on the heat maps. So I quite like this because it gives you a guideline. You can align things up a lot better, and this was the exact method that I used for the temple. I used a mix of the path and using the heat map, and so you can get them so that these sort of M shapes are sort of the same height, and it usually means that they're pretty much aligned, and you can just keep sort of building in circles. And again, like you would if you were going to build on the grid, you would build your grid piece and then you would rotate it, whereas with this, you're building your piece with out using the grid pieces, and you're then just like duplicating the whole piece and placing it in. So I'll be building a greater flamingo habitat later on next week, and you'll be able to see that I literally just did the path first, and then I built the whole building around the path. And that's effectively what we're doing really here, we're building one or two pieces and then building it using a shape to sort of help create a circular shape. And if you just keep doing this, you will eventually end up with a really nice looking circle, and you can edit sort of the size of these so animals can come in and out of them, and you can create just nice buildings. Often I find if you're building circular pieces, the corner pieces of the roof to act as the roof does create some really cool effects. So you can create this kind of star effect. Obviously the roof pieces do rotate often with the grid pieces. However, if you're using mainly not grid pieces for your build, then often if you just group them in with the sort of the wall pieces, you can then keep them all together and then just copy and paste them, and then as you align it how it is, I mean, you can see here we've pretty much got a straight line. The roof pieces will also be aligned, and you can just work from there. So a lot of these kind of pieces here on this building, these ones were placed in manually, just by eye, and I think you couldn't really tell too much of a difference. So yeah, and the other thing about this method using the education circle is you don't have to use the education circle. You can also use, for much larger circles, you can go down to the utilities. You can use the solar panel, which will give you a massive circle, much bigger than the ones I've built. You can use a transformer, which gives you an even bigger circle. You can use water treatment, which I think is similar to the solar panel but a little bit bigger, and then you've got, again, the wind turbine, which is the similarity to the solar panel. So you have all these different kind of circles. If we place them, go up here and just place one there. That's the solar panel. That's the transformer. And that's the water treatment. So dot temperature, water, power. So there's the three different power circles. So you can make massive domes using this, or massive circular buildings. And not only that, but you can use these as a guideline for building for building domes on the grid as well, because you can effectively place one piece of the grid here, one piece of the grid over here, and then build a circle around the transformer and use the transformer as a rotational point. So these are just some things to consider. So I'll just delete these now. But yeah, also one of the things I do like about using the educational grid and the educational circle is you can decide how big you want it. So a 20 by 20 circle is going to be that big, and then you can go down to 10 meters, so you can create some like really big circles and really small circles. You've got this full range of guides for using these, and as I said, you can use them for guides for building things on the grid, but this is specifically looking at things being built off the grid. So I hope you found this useful, and I'm going to quickly continue to place these in so you can see what it looks like when it's finished. But I do hope you found this useful, and let me know in the comments if you have any feedback at all on things you'd like to see, on things I could do better when I'm explaining. I'm very new to this and I'm still sort of, figuring out what I want to do with the videos that I'm making. So yeah, just give me a message in the comments below and I'll read them all and take some feedback in. So apart from that, take care guys, and I'll show you this finished circle at the end. Right, so as you can see guys, we have this finished circle now, and it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be a perfect circle, but it looks pretty good, it serves its purpose, and yeah, that's pretty much it.